This morning we have our, let's see, every other month business owner interview. And we have Joe F. here this morning with us. And yes, Joe has been a client with Trezzeri Mancini for, gosh, how long? 10, 12 years?
No, 15 plus?
15?
It's been a long time.
Okay. Been a long time.
He won't admit to it. That's scary.
Yeah. So we've seen him in all different stages for business. But as you know, this is put on for the Exit Planning Institute members that we invite all to join us as well. So the topic is centered around business succession. And typically we try to do a couple of business owner forums live each year, but until we can do that again, we have been doing these virtual interviews and everyone seems to enjoy them. So we'll continue for a while. So with that, we have Joe Trezzeri here, and he is going to have a talk with Joe.
Well,
I'll let you go.
thank you very much. So thanks, Shelley. So everybody, nice to see you. For those of you who don't have your camera on, I don't see you on my screen, but I know you're back out there, and hi and good morning. Our goal is to run until about 8:30, so that's going to be another 20-25 minutes. Sitting to your right, my left is Joe. Joe is a business owner of a property management firm. And originally when he started out, did you start out as a CPA for them?
No.
How did you start with them?
Just as a property manager.
As a property manager. So you started out as a property manager with them. How many years ago did you come to the company?
I started in 84. So
84.
this would have been 39 in May, 39 years in May.
And how did the opportunity for ownership come up?
A unique story in that I was there starting in 84, and I'll never forget, it was on Good Friday in 1997. I got called by an industry colleague that asked me if I wanted to take over his company. And being the loyal person that I am and the benefits that I had already garnered from my current partners, I called my current president of the company and just said, hey, what are my opportunities going forward here? And it was not a couple of days later that he had committed to sell his 50% of the business to me. So I bought, a portion, 25% of it in 97, and then the other 25% over the next couple of years. So as of 2001, I was now a 50% owner of the company.
And when we first got together, you were massively paying down any debt to that.
Yeah.
But why pay it down so fast?
I don't like debt. Yeah, it's it's the priority is always debt first, in a way. So I got that done. I went through a couple of family issues as well. I wanted to move it quickly. We had a couple of really good years in 2005 and 6. I was able to accelerate payments and get that off my balance sheet, personal balance sheet.
So as that happened, there ended up being two of you, so you and your buddy John.
Yes, yeah. One of the original partners, John, was still my partner. Interestingly enough, we had kind of a division. We had apartments and commercial on one side. We had HOA, community association management on the other side, and they ended up selling. Yeah, that was the part that John ran, and they ended up selling both of those divisions. So the only thing left was what I was running. So it was really, so now I ran the company, so to speak, and John was a great sounding board for the next 25 years.
So what's it like having a partner that was on one side of the business, not on yours, you that are equal partners on quote unquote your side of the business?
Right.
Did he step up to do lots? Did you ask him to do lots? Did you say, be my solid partner, be my sounding board? I got it, I'm in control. What was that like?
He was more of a sounding board because obviously he had been in business a bit longer than I had. And, it's really not the business techniques that oftentimes you need guidance on. It's the people skills, the interactions, it's those basic things. And so he gave me a lot of guidance on that. And, yeah, I owed him a lot because he kind of pushed my old partner to
see the light.
No, to sell the last part of the business. the first part was easy. The last part, to have him totally exit the company. My business partner that was remaining, had to give him some encouragement.
Well, it'd be fair to say that in your business dealings and in your family dealings, you've always paid more than your fair share.
To others.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, I always felt very grateful that I happened to be in the right place at the right time. The way I was raised, the education I was afforded and everything kind of presented me. It's like, I think our mutual friend, Randy, when he says, you know, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes.
And I think that is exactly what happened to me. I've always said that I've been very fortunate and didn't have those expectations.
I'll agree with that. So after you own half the company, that's what year?
2001.
2001, so 20-ish years ago. Do you end up working the same, more or less? Hours wise?
I worked a lot initially. You know, I mean, I was the face of that company now because that only division that was there.
Sure.
So I was very active, both in local, state, and national associations and everything to get our name out there and learn more from other people that had more experience than me. And so I always said, every time we reached a certain level, that's the first time we'd ever been there, whether it's revenue or, you know, the breadth of areas that we covered and that type of thing. So it's nice to talk to people that had more experience, different marketplaces, different product, and that type of thing. So
Would you say you worked 50 hours or more or less? A lot more.
I mean, it was full days, but our business is kind of unique in that there's a lot of evening meetings with board meetings and that type of thing. So I would say I easily worked more than a traditional 40-hour work week for a lot of years. And but I enjoyed it. I thought the business matched my personality and my skill set really well. And but you know, you got to put in the time if you're going to get the rewards.
I know your executive team, your alphas are really important to you. How did you choose amongst them? And did you and John choose amongst them and grow them, or were you doing operational business, choosing which ones to groom up?
It was interesting. The remaining executives that were there, only one of them was there when I became an owner. And when I was running the business, I had met a lot of people in the industry, and you know, I don't know if it was a nice guy or I picked up the bar tabs, one or the other, but it was
That's important.
yeah, that's important. No, but they had when I kind of took over, we had a great reputation, and so it attracted some people there that then over time moved into the executive role. It's interestingly enough, we lost one of our CFO, and I was in the industry, and one of our competitors that I've known for almost 40 years, I just said, hey, I need another, doesn't mean you guys, I need a Rolf guy I know up in Northern California. He goes, I got the guy from it. And it was actually a guy that worked for a company that he had acquired for his national company.
Okay.
And so we met, and eventually he came and joined us, and he is now, after my departure, he is now president of the company. So
That is very cool.
so to get a referral from somebody that's going to compete against you, I thought that said a lot about.
So fine, you reached to a competitor, said, I need somebody like this. He said, I got the guy for you.
Yep. And basically took it away from one of his companies.
Did you treat your executives like companies inside of companies? Did you share profit? Did you bonus on pay? How did you decide to incentivize them to grow like you did?
Yeah.
Because you did grow over this 4 years.
Oh yeah.
How much would you say you grew?
Well, I know what I paid for the company. So I'd say it grew pretty well, but we probably had low thousands of doors, maybe less than 10, and we sold almost 75,000 doors.
Yeah.
So we had a pretty good run. And
Do you have the same CPA, attorney, and financial advisor that when you bought the business?
No, but
How did you find them, and why did you change?
We changed CPAs when our old CPA moved out of the state. I guess when he's crunching the numbers and he realizes how much taxes he pays. He left the
He was one of the smart ones.
No, but then we just we have the attorney we had after that. He just sold his business last year. He's on in consulting, and now he is basically not involved in prepping or consulting clients, but more consulting with the company. It's a national company that bought him as well.
Sure.
So we'll see how that works out. The transition last year was not smooth.
And then your financial advisors, how many of you had or didn't have, and how many of you had?
You know, I have maybe unrealistic expectations, and it's not based on performance. It's normally on response and are you paying attention? I know you can't dictate, returns and all that type of stuff, but I had one, and then I moved from him thinking that he was not focused on performance of money. There was a kind of it's almost a blending of some of the stuff that I've gone with you on. So when we joined, I moved over to just a large national brokerage, and that it sounds like a good idea, but not to offend anybody, but it doesn't seem like you get the attention. I mean, you feel like you have enough money to get some attention, but then you realize you're kind of a small fish. And so I recently made a move that was, I think, had the same skill set and more attention to what I needed, and especially selling the company. Now I have money that I got to live on the rest of my life, and that investment program needed to be monitored and modified quite a bit.
How scary is it to move from owning a company where you take cash flow when you need it, et cetera, to selling a company and having a bucket of money, and now it has to survive you, but you can't change what it
Can't
makes.
turn the faucet
You
back
can't
on.
say, put the Bunsen burner on this person and cutting that expense and taking this, now you've got your money. So what is it like?
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's probably the most uncomfortable situation that I had, in that, I think I've gotten a paycheck for like 55 years in a row, it was like, okay, that was a challenge. And I guess I didn't understand the number crunching well enough to understand that I was in pretty good shape. And I kept being told that I was in pretty good shape. And but then you start getting the numbers and you start getting the monthly distributions, and you feel like, oh yeah, I guess I am in pretty good shape, and not just me, because I think, as you alluded to, I don't want to end up with the check to the mortuary bouncing. I want to leave something for my
Just between us girls, you're never gonna spend more than you make. There's gonna be a lot left over. You don't own that gene.
no, so no, it's worked out pretty well. So
How did you make the decision to sell? I mean, there are people in the industry, they called you, and you've had competitors call you, you've had those with larger companies call you, you have brokers call you, you have mortgage bankers call you, often in the last 10 years. Is that fair?
oh yeah.
How often would you sell?
Oh, I mean, not only the people that I know that are in our industry, there are a lot of private equity that's hitting me like every week, and some of them are pretty persistent. But I think COVID kind of changed the dynamics of our business, the relationships, the strengths that I think I had was building those relationships. And when you only have like 10% of the people even come to the office for a couple of years, it changed things dramatically.
So relationship with your own employees.
Yes.
And then your business is largely dependent, or has been, on these nighttime meetings. And those nighttime meetings went away for a while. What was that like?
Yeah. Well, I had long since kind of pulled away from going to those meetings unless there was a particular issue. I even stopped going to presentations, proposals. The executive committee was handling those. If there was a hot topic or something that might be litigation potential, I would go to those and see if we can kind of turn down the burner a little bit and see if we can get that resolved without doing anything crazy.
So what made you choose this deal?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, the people that
And
eventually
where are you at in the deal right now?
we're done.
You're done.
We're
You
done.
got a check. You got all that money landed somewhere.
I
And there's
had
no-
all of it.
There's no second.
There's no earn out, but there's two deferred payments. So we got a good chunk of it up front at the end of last.
So you're still working in the business to make sure your deferred payments come, or are you done?
I'm pretty much done.
Is it nice to be done?
It's not quite nice yet.
Is that because you want your two more payments?
Yeah, I gotta make, I'm staying in touch, but the thing is that the sale triggered a lot of other things that I had to do. Not only knowing where the money was going, who was gonna do what, but there are other opportunities that were there. Some of the tax consequences created opportunities for other things. So, you know, and then it's just simple things that you don't think about, but it's like, oh, credit, my health insurance is gonna go away. You go on Cobra, so I decided to go on Medicare. My better half isn't qualified yet, so I had to find her a private policy.
Yeah.
And so we got all that worked out. So those are the things that you just, oh, crud, I forgot about that. And
All the benefits that you were getting.
yeah, it is. And I still worry about the staff. One of the, you know, I get feedback and everything. They've changed some things. The health insurance is not quite as I don't know,
Your benefits were quite rich.
we're
when you
quite
went
rich, yeah. And just things we had a lot of days off, you know, we gave quite a bit of vacation, we had.
And in the deal, you had to glue some of your money for all the accrued days.
Yeah, we had to pay off, and that was a few things in preparation. I wish in some ways, I mean, there were a couple of times, this thing's formally started in like May of last year. We didn't close until December. It was supposed to close in August, and it was ups and downs and ups and downs. And I realized a lot of things that I should have done before going into even the, due diligence period. And so it changed, but I'd known these guys for a long time. There were national companies that they were, by process of elimination, because of our size, it narrowed the pool of people that could even think about buying us. And so the people that were there's only one publicly traded company that could do it. And the other companies, their reputations had preceded them for 10 to 15 years. I did not want to go there. These people were a smaller, but a national company. And I knew the personalities of the CEO and the president I'd known for 5 or 6 years. And then it got, after the COVID thing, everybody was throwing out multiples, of EBITDA and stuff. And it was just very methodical. And I said, you know what, we're worth more than that. If you want to do something big and you want a beachhead here in Southern California that you don't have, we're worth more. And we got an offer in
Early 2022.
21. It was 22 that we went through it and everything, and things were looking good because they were taking our numbers from 2021, doing numbers. Well, 22 turned a little bit upside down, especially with the interest rates that went up, the revenue streams from the resales and everything went down. And I just said, they were probably not going to do it. And but they came back with full price, significantly higher than anything anybody else would do. Because I basically said, hey, we're going to leave. We're going to just wait for a couple of years, wait for the cycle to come through, and we'll get our number up there.
You didn't need to sell. You were
didn't need to sell. The
personally, financially, we're fine. You had a good deal of income.
Executive committee was pretty much running the company.
And so you weren't that involved anymore.
No. But they hit high numbers and they kept them where they were, and the terms were good. And as long as I get the next 2 deferred payments.
Now, your financial advisor that owned the account that the money went to.
Yeah.
Came to you how soon or how close to the sale that you recently had changed to them?
Well, it was probably the beginning of last year that I started talking to them.
And you were with other people.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
At a national firm.
National.
They were doing okay financially with you.
Well,
It wasn't the attention. The market had shifted a bit. You weren't feeling something.
That was the problem, when, you lose 7 figures and you don't even get a phone call from your broker. And when they're advising you to stay in the market in, March, April, May, and everybody else is saying, this might be a time to put some stuff on the side. I'm kind of like, I'll give you as much rope as I can, but it's not a gradual decline either. I get to a point just like,
You're done.
it's done.
So how did you find your new advisor? You were frustrated, you lost money, you're not getting calls, you try to reach out, they say, Joe, don't worry about it, just stay in. You say, I'm not feeling comfortable. You met these people through your golf club, right?
Yes, one of my golf buddies had gone to them. He had sold his business. He had insurance business, and he was extremely happy with him. And then he told me about another guy that had a car dealership, and he had gone with them, and he was very happy. So I started talking to them. And
What impressed you at first?
number one, their team has a pedigree from, big firms, whether it's on the CPA side or it's the brokerage side, the private equity side. And I mean, there's only like a half a dozen guys there, and gals that are working, but the approach they took was just so unique from anything I'd heard. And there was all these buckets, it's like, oh, there's your income bucket, there's your growth bucket, this is your, your legacy bucket and all. And the tools that they suggested, and some of them I took, some of them I said, I don't feel comfortable with that. It's just that they had a very unique and conservative way to do it, because now I don't want to lose any significant amount of the portfolio. And
So you want both security, you want a security, some sort of prove up team that seem like they know what they're doing, and then still some upside.
yeah, but I don't need to hit any home runs anymore. I just need to get a reasonable return and not, I'd like to not deplete
Very little risk.
principal. Yeah, too much. And so that's, obviously we've only been into it. I mean, they only got all of the money here at the end of the year, and it's not been deployed in the program that we have yet, but it seems pretty.
I think what you're suggesting, you got the big chunk of cash, you
Yeah.
put some aside for the tax, you've got the rest of this.
Mm.
They've talked about buckets, and they didn't put it all in one day.
Oh.
They've been laddering in over time on a plan that they talked.
Yeah, but it's not, like I said, it's not all deployed, there's, without getting into the details, there are, some of the stuff has to be deployed over time, with the investments that are there. Some of them have opportunities and windows of investment, but yeah, it seems like it's gonna be good.
Are you, so you're happy with their level of contact? How often do you talk to
Oh, well, on or off the golf course.
them?
No, it's I think things are scheduled about every 60 days, either via call or a visit. And I think it's probably more now, because I mean, we have the program For Me to Live. That's kind of set there. A couple of the other things are in process. We had a couple of hoops that we had to jump through. So it's going to be fine. But they're always there. Right now, I have my CPA talking to them about a couple of tax consequences, because, as I said, these events created a series of other opportunities, and you don't want to give the government any more than they're entitled to.
If that could, you've been very open to looking at ways to do that.
Yeah.
What do you know now that you wish you knew before you started the sale process?
I mean, that's a long list. In a lot of ways, prepping for not only the sale, like some of the things we talked about, the accrued liabilities. You have these people come in, you're basically working on a fairly simple accounting process, it's almost a cash basis.
Simple for you.
Simple for us, because I had somebody else doing it, yeah. But you realize that you have these accrued liabilities that impact your sale price and that type of stuff. We had a very generous, like I said, vacation leave policy, and you realize that people aren't using it. So it sounds like those people have been there for 25 or 30 years, were never using it. And so they would cap out on their max, which is a lot. And then, so it basically means you were giving away too much time.
Right.
So we had the accrued vacation, we had the time off, we had the sick time, and then we just casually said, yeah, we're going to close between Christmas and New Year's, and it didn't come off anybody's total.
And they all got those that did not take their vacations got some good money as you exit.
Yes, we didn't like the idea of them going with a new company and not having any vacation in the bank.
Right.
So we opted to leave a week's vacation in there, which impacted, they assumed that liabilities, but we
How
paid,
about over that you wrote some checks?
to them,
If I had a
To the
month
employees.
and you were gonna
Yes.
keep me a week,
they
what
got,
happened to my 3 weeks?
they got paid off by the end of the year.
So they got some checks.
Yes, they got checks, we paid some bonuses to some of the key execs, and all of that was done before the end of the year. We had one bonus that we had, one of our executives decided to go back to school, and she asked for that bonus to come in next year, so that was a liability they assumed, and it worked out well. It worked out well.
You know, I wanted to recap for a minute, things that we all should be able to hear on top of everything you said. But you rate responsiveness and paying attention the most. And that
Oh, yeah.
responsiveness and paying attention,
Right.
and though you'll let somebody have a long run, eventually just say, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
The most uncomfortable you've been during the sale because you're no longer getting a paycheck after 55 years.
Hmm.
And you're told that you'll be in good shape, but you didn't believe you'd be in good shape until you were well into getting the money and watching the cash flows.
Yeah, and like I said, that's not done yet, so we'll see how that all works out. The money that I'm living on, that program is set up. But some of the other things about the investments and some of the legacy things that are, the opportunities that are there, we'll have to see how that plays out.
Now, you have a relationship person you met on the golf course and you met through somebody else, but their team's pedigree, the different team members was very impressive.
Yeah.
The fact that they have talks about buckets, here's your different type of money and here's the different ways to invest each bucket.
Yeah.
And here are a list of tools underneath one, some you denied, some you kept. That process was important to you.
Yeah, because previously I basically had everything in the stock market, a couple of private equity things and some real estate, and that was scary. And we have, probably 12-15% in the market right now, and they're conservative approaches, but we'll see how everything works out in the long run.
And then you said, you're at this point, now that you got these buckets, you are no longer looking for home runs, even in that plan. You're looking for a good, your reasonable returns. And there's gonna be a mix of that's a little more risky and this is no risky. And you're feeling good about the way they're communicating.
Right, and some of the investment opportunities we have are to reduce tax liability. And so you can get a decent return, even if it's as high single digits without the tax liability, you're in pretty good shape.
And you've got a scheduled once every couple of month meeting,
Mhm.
but if there's a big hit up or down, you're gonna get a phone call as opposed to not getting a phone call. When you call in, they say, it's okay, Joe, send her down.
And they have, they have another thing, they have a nice private equity portfolio and different than everybody else, them, when you look at the big boys, there's a lot of chomping at the profit line there. These guys go out, they do it themselves. And so, they may be going to London or Georgia or whatever it might be, looking for an opportunity. And the relationships they have had and they've garnered through their previous years of experience outside of the firm makes a lot of sense. So it's just more comfortable. It's like when you own a stock, you don't feel like you own anything.
Right.
But when you own, something that is a physical thing, I don't care if it's storage facility or this or whatever it is, you feel like you have something of substance.
And you've got slices of different.
It's more diversified. You don't feel like you're all in one place.
And you know why each one. That belongs to this bucket, this is our risk. And you've throttled them back on risk for your, I'm not looking for a home run stuff.
Right. And they have, like they said, they have people that were invested in this portfolio that they had a meeting and they went through performance of last year and I went to that. I hadn't been invested in that yet. You start talking to the people and they go, hey, it's as they say, it's just, you don't feel like you're getting BS in any way, or what did they not tell me? And that's.
So what did they not tell me is a feeling you used to have.
Yes.
And you don't have that now because you're seeing both column negative.
Yeah.
Well, we're running to our time. Shelley, thank you for the time this morning. Joe, thank you for the time this morning, my friend.
Thank you.
We've been lucky. We've been with Joe for 15+ years or 12+ years. We met through another client of ours,
Yes.
a good friend of yours, that's in a tangential part of the industry.
Mhm.
We actually, then we got to know each other in a baseball game.
Yeah. Yes.
We've been through a lot of ups and downs and planning for family, and your kids have been in for family meetings, and we tried to work with your partner about cleaning up a buy-sell agreement.
Yeah.
And then for the sales stuff, when you came in, you were pretty hell-bent on doing this, and you were close enough to the sale. There was less planning, but lots of planning after the sale.
Yeah. And like I said, if it hadn't gone through, there were some things that we would just tweaking of the company that we would have probably cut back some of our liabilities but all things, if I had to do it again, I would probably do it again, just knowing everything I know now. So
What are you gonna do now?
you know what, wrapping up the loose ends. I don't know. I got, 2 grandkids, another one on the way. And so 4.5 total, so we'll see how they're all local and might travel a little bit more, but we'll see.
So thank you all for coming on today. We appreciate you being with us. There's one thing in the chat I will reach out and look at before we hang up. Oh, thank you for sharing this morning. Thank you, Ian.
All right.
All right, thank you, our friends. What's our next thing?
Watch your email. It's in April.
Yep, so we'll have these 2
Last
weeks from now.
Tuesday, last
And then, of
Tuesday.
course, the chapter meetings, et cetera.
Yeah.
So thank you all very much. Mo, I will see you tonight.
Thanks,
Bye.
Joe and Kelly.
Bye.
All right, thanks, guys.